Supposed Bible contradiction. Did Jesus tell his disciples to carry a staff? Mark 6 says the disciples were to take nothing with them in evangelism, except sandals and a staff. However, Matthew recounts the same incident, but says they were not to acquire a staff and implies the same about sandals. Luke agrees with Matthew about the staff and doesn't mention the sandals. So do Matthew and Luke contradict Mark? Well, first off, it seems petty to even bring this up. And even if this is a definite contradiction, it would be such a minute issue, it would hardly be a dent in the reliability of the New Testament. I have no problem with saying the authors were unsure about a minor issue, such as a list of belongings to take on a journey, because it is not related to doctrine or theology, and is such a minute grievance. But there is a way to address this by looking at the linguistic characteristics of each author. First, the differences between Mark and Matthew are quite easy to resolve. Mark uses a very general word for taking a staff, which is arrow. This simply means to take, carry, or pick up. So Mark is noting they are not to heavily prepare, but take what they have with them, the clothes they were wearing, sandals on their feet, and a walking staff they could easily find or already had. Matthew, on the other hand, uses a different word, katalme, which means to acquire, locate, and obtain. Matthew is saying Jesus doesn't want his disciples to make excessive preparation, like going out of their way to acquire a staff or an extra pair of sandals, but go as you are. So Mark is saying get up, grab your staff and go. Matthew is saying get up and go, but don't go out of your way to acquire extra items for a mission trip. The real issue comes up when you look at what Luke says, because he uses the same word as Mark, but contradicts Mark and says not to take a staff. However, we need to ask if each gospel author uses the Greek word the same way, and the answer is no. We should remember there are times when a word means something different to different people. When I first got married, the word sure to me meant the same as saying yes, but to my wife, it meant saying okay. To me, it meant an affirmative response, but my wife understood the word as meaning to only acknowledge something. So, she would ask me a question, and I would say sure, to affirm or give her a yes. But she just thought I was acknowledging she asked a question and saying okay. So words can mean something different to different people. When it comes to Luke and Mark, they both use the Greek word differently. Mark uses it to mean in a very general sense, to take, carry, or pick up. But Luke doesn't. For taking or picking up, he uses a very different word. But why not just use the word that Matthew uses? Well, again, that word means something different to Luke. This can all sound confusing, so it can be better explained by placing everything on a chart. Matthew uses this word to mean acquire, but in Luke's gospel, it almost always means to purchase. For purchasing, Matthew uses a different word that no one else uses. When it comes to arrow, Mark uses this in a general sense of taking or picking up. However, in Luke, this word is used in other verses to clearly mean acquire, like Matthew's katalme. For taking or picking up, Luke uses a different word to mean this idea. So because Luke already establishes for his audience, this word is being used to mean purchase, and this other word means to take or pick up, he uses arrow, which is a very general word and has a wide range of meanings, to report the same thing Matthew is telling us. And the rest of his gospel allows us to understand how he uses arrow. The same thing can be seen in English. Depending on the certain group of people we would be talking to, our use of words could change. Someone of a low-educated class might say, let's get some food. But to a higher educated class, this would sound improper, and they would more likely say, shall we have a meal together? There are dozens of ways in our own language to portray the same message. And the same logic would apply in the ancient world, with much deeper cultural and racial divides in dialect. So each gospel writer is writing to their particular audience in the dialect they best understood. So this could be all that is happening in the Gospels. But even if it is not, as I said, this would hardly be an issue for the reliability of the New Testament.